week, week 9. All right, it's a little different than what you're used to. If you look under here, you'll see week 9 ad design and week 9 number 2 word art. Right now, we're going to deal with ad design. Okay, so this is going to be pretty open. You get to decide what you're advertising for and who you're advertising for. You need to be able to make sure you can get a logo of whatever it is you're advertising. Okay. What we're introducing, we did advertisements the last time I had you guys, but it was a little different, right? It was in Photoshop, a little more creative that way. These are going to be more basic advertisements, ones you're used to seeing in newspaper, magazines, things like that. Some of the examples I have are right here, okay? So you've seen these everywhere, I'm sure, okay? Yes, we're using InDesign, okay? So the objective this week is going to be, we're going to talk a little bit about the introduction of an ad, how an ad is built, and how people use certain techniques in order to get you to buy stuff, all right? But you get to decide what it is you're advertising for, okay? So the simple specs up here, all right? The first steps, you're going to do visual research, all right? You're going to do 6 sketches, and you're going to do a comp. When you get your sketches approved, I'm going to give you this piece of paper. This is the size of your advertisement, okay? 8.5 by 5.5. Hold on. See if that works. Gabrielle, that working better? All right. So this piece is going to be what you're going to do your comp on. So you're going to do your 6 sketches, and I'll hand you this once your sketches are approved, and you'll do your full comp on this. Nice, clean. Okay, this is the exact size so that you can get all the layout that you want to get and exactly figure it out, okay? So you've got your visual research, you've got 6 sketches, you've got your comp, okay? Then you're going to decide the persuasive technique you want to use. Our persuasive techniques are right here. We have ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos is credibility, okay? Give you an example, like if you're advertising for CVS, you know, you're going to talk about in your ad, you'll talk about why people come to you and the fact that, you know, you always have the best quality, the best price, all right? Emotion. You've probably all seen the MSPCA ad with the Sarah McLachlan song in the background, you know, the "On the Arms of an Angel," and like the big sad one with the puppy dog like shivering. They're working on your emotions, okay? So that's pathos. And then logos is logic. So do you have a broken sink? Then you need me to come fix it. Logic, okay? So you get to decide on which one of those techniques you want to use to advertise your product, okay? I hope that makes sense. So it's ethos, pathos, and logos. You're going to pick one. Do you want to work off of credibility? Do you want to work off of emotion? Do you want to work off of logic? Okay? And that depends on, really, I think a lot of times the product that you decide to choose. All right? The advertisement specs are 5.5 by 8.5. It's width first in InDesign. So whenever someone says it's a 6 by 4, it's a 6 by 4. Okay? With ad designs, you can't change the size because that is what it is. So it's 5.5 by 8.5, so you can't rotate it. All right? You're going to have a 1/8 inch bleed. We'll just set that up. And normally in an advertisement, you don't need a bleed, but I want you guys to practice setting up bleeds. All right? It's a full cover advertisement, so you can have full color photographs, use color, anything like that. And it's going to be created in InDesign. Okay? So that's the program because we haven't worked a ton in it. I want to get back to it a little bit, but you know, for a relatively short period of time. All right? What you must include in your ad. You must include a header. All right? This is where you grab the reader's attention. The header is the top piece, the biggest piece people see. All right? I used to do advertisements for a lawyer, and what it said was his headlines were great. It was like, need to sue someone or being sued by someone, and that grabs the reader's attention. So you have to have a header. All right? Now, where you put the header, generally speaking, is on the top, but based on the size and how you design it, sometimes you can get away with a couple other different things. All right? You're going to have a minimum of 1 image. Right? You can have more than one if you'd like, but you have to have a minimum of 1 image. You're going to get that image. All right? You have to have the company logo on there. All right? You have to have a body, which is information. Okay? A minimum of 12 words. So not a ton. You don't have to write a ton. Okay? You can find an advertisement and redesign it if it makes it easier for you. Okay? But that's why, you know, it's just a 12-word copy. Okay? The sign-off. And the sign-off is generally at the bottom of the advertisement, and that's where you put your contact information. So how are they going to contact you? Usually it's the logo, a phone number, or an address, or all three. All right, give you an example. All right, here's the header. Here's the body copy. Here's the sign-off. Okay. The trick with ad design is that you are working in a literal box. And so how do you be creative in a box? It gets even worse when a client gives you either this much copy or this much copy, and you've got a box this big. All right? But it's working inside of a box, and it's trying to be creative within that box and trying to get people to see. Because if you've looked at magazines before, okay, or looked at the newspaper, which many of you haven't at this point, but there's like 10 or 12 ads per page. How do you get yours to stick out? All right, that's really the big thing when it comes to ad design. So same thing here, headline, body, sign off, headline, body, sign off, okay? Headline, body, sign off, okay? So that sign off is going to include the logo and some type of way to contact somebody, whether it's the website, the phone number, both, the address, things like that, okay? If you're advertising for something, I don't know, Coke, okay? You don't really need an address, right? You probably could have the logo and the website. No one's going to the Coke plant to get their Coke, right? Make sense? Okay? So you can think of things like that. You're also going to have to include a master page item and a character style, which we have done before. And again, normally if you were doing an advertisement design, you would not be doing a master page item and you would not be doing a character style. But I want you guys to practice those because when you start we start getting into magazine spreads, you need to know how to do master page items and character styles. Okay? And I'll go over it again. All right? What you're going to hand in is your packaged and compressed file. All right? So basically, we're going to go and we're going to export that package. You're going to compress it and you hand it in, which is similar to what we did, or exactly the same thing we did the last time we were in InDesign with our rack cards. Okay? The plan is to critique this at some point. Probably, I'm thinking Wednesday would be a great time to have a critique. This will be due Friday. Okay? It's due this Friday. Both these assignments I'm giving you today will be due on Friday. All right? Next week, we'll start the last 2-week cycle for us. In that,
Do we need to get both these assignments done?
correct. Okay? You have 5 hours each day. So you have 25 hours this week. But you're going to have to work. Yes. You can't drift off. You can't not work. You have to work. Okay? So, any questions on this so far? Okay. What I wanted to do is quickly go back into InDesign and just kind of remind you of this process. All right, to remember how to do it. So, the advertisement is 5.5 by 8.5. Okay. And so I'm going to create a new document. Remember that you want to be in inches. Okay. And so I want to go with 5.5 by 8.5. All right. And my margin. So if this is the size of my ad, all right, could I do a 1/2 inch margin? Yeah. Okay. It would work, right? All right. Could I do a 1/4 inch margin? It would work, right? So the idea behind margins, this is always a tough one for students, okay? The margin is really going to be based upon what size your document is. So an 1/8 inch margin, the only thing you really ever do an 1/8 inch margin on is business cards. Okay? So the next size is a 1/4 inch, and then a 1/2 inch, and then an inch, and then 2 inches, okay? So a 1/4 inch margin is perfect for this because it gives you enough room as a designer to work, and it's also not too close to the edge, okay? So I'm going to put in my 1/4 inch margin, all right? And then I'm going to put in my 0.125 for a bleed. Whoops, I forgot the 5. Okay? And then I'm going to click Create. So this will be what my document looks like. All right? Remember that the outside red line is where anything like an image or a color or a border or anything like that, you want to have bleed to the edge. Okay? It's not being printed. All right, so the bleed isn't necessarily needed, but I want you to practice doing it. Okay, in other words, it's not being printed on a piece of paper, it's being printed in a magazine, it's not getting cut up. All right, the pink line is your margin. Any text, okay, or anything that is not bleeding over to the edge needs to stay within the margins. Follow so far? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to decide I'm going to do an ad for Panera. Okay? So the website I'll put up on there, I thought it did, but it didn't look like it updated. Brands of the World, okay, is a website where you can get most major brands' logos. So I'm going to click right here because I want a vector file, because if I get a JPEG, it's going to have a white border, and that might mess me up. Okay? So I like the square one. Okay? I agree that I'm not going to steal this, and I'm going to download it. Okay? So that downloads my AI file of Panera. All right? So that's the first thing I'm going to do. And then, no, I don't want their website. No! There we go. All right? I want, not news, I want images of Panera. Okay? And remember, I want to go to Tools, Size, Large. Okay? So, for the sake of moving quickly, I'm going to click on this one. All right? I'm going to open my image in a new tab because I want the full resolution image. Everybody following so far? We've done this before. Davi, you on me? Yeah. All right? And I'm going to save this. Okay? Now, here's the new trick. When it comes to bringing an image into InDesign, all right, we're going to want to make sure it's 300 dpi, minimum. So we need to go into Photoshop now. So I'm going to take this image, and I'm going to drop it into Photoshop. All right? Because what I want to do is I want to resize that image to 300 dpi so that I know it's the proper resolution. All right? So I get it right now. Whoa. Let's reset my file here. Okay? And I'm just going to go to Image, and I'm going to go to Image Size. And all I'm going to do is type in 300 here. And I need to make sure that this isn't checked. Resample is unchecked. If resample is checked, Photoshop is going to add pixels, which doesn't actually happen. Okay? Now you'll notice when I go to 300, that means it's 3.5 by 2.6. So I hit OK. All right? I'm going to close it and just save it. So it's saved at the size that I need it. Everybody following along so far? So I found an image. All right? You might find multiple images. You want to use multiple images depending on your layout. I'm going to use one for now. Okay? So now I found my image. I found my logo. Those are the two things. Then I have to write the copy and stuff like that. I'm not going to get too much into that with you guys, but I just want to show you generally how we're using InDesign again, just as a quick reminder. Okay? So what I want to do is I want to go to File, Place. Okay? Now I can go File, Place, and I can click on the logo, and I can drop the logo in, right? Okay? I can also simply take the logo from out here, drag it right on here, and that is File, Place. What you can't do is drag the photo directly from the internet into InDesign, because that is not File, Place. That is Embed, okay? Which in this instance is not good, okay? So if you just want to drag it from your desktop right into InDesign and then click it, it will place it. If you want to go to File, Place, it will place it. Remember, you always place images in InDesign. You need the real true image, okay? If that happens, I would suggest, since you're not getting the files from me, that you make a folder on your desktop that says Panera Advertisement or whatever, and everything you need you put into that folder. And you back that folder up each day, okay? Because I can't help you if you lose your images, because I don't have them for you. All right? You can obviously find them and re-download them, but that's kind of a pain. All right? So now I have my Panera logo, and I'm going to scale this down. Remember, I need to hold Shift and Command. If I just hold Shift, I'm going to scale the box. Remember this part in InDesign? Okay? You have the box, and you have the thing inside the box. All right? So I'm scaling this down. Now, I want to use this green. All right, so what I'm going to do is I want a green box down here at the bottom of the advertisement to kind of weight the advertisement in. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to click right on the green. Now, when I do that, what it's telling me right here, all right, is that this is going to take a vector file and it's going to turn it. It's going to basically pull a rasterized color from it, which means it's going to be RGB. Okay, so all I have to do is say, okay, fine. I click OK. Here's the green. Now, what I want to do in my swatch panel is the only colors I'm going to have over here are the colors that I'm going to use, right? So I'm going to click at the first color, hold Shift, click the last color, and I'm going to delete them. So I'm just blank. All right? This green, all right, I'm simply going to right click and say add to swatches. Now you'll notice it's RGB, which we don't want. Okay, we want CMYK. Really simple. Just going to double click on the color, and I'm going to change it to CMYK. Ta-da! Okay, that part's easy. So maybe I want the yellowish part too from Panera. So I might go in here, and I might grab this yellow color. Okay, and I'm going to right click, add to swatches. Double click, CMYK. Okay? So now I have the two colors in my advertisement that Panera uses. Whatever company you pick, their logo is going to have their colors. Those are the colors you want to use. Does that make sense? You don't want to just pick a random color. You want to use the colors that the company has. When you do your visual research on that company that you choose, that's what you want to do, is look at some of their advertisement and see what they kind of do. All right? So I've got that. All right? That's pretty basic. All right? Now what I would do is I'd need that image. So I'm going to drag it right here and drop it. Okay? So my image is 300 dpi. All right? And I know that because I can go into actually in here and I can say window, and where's my information? No, they hid it. Here it is. Okay? Right here it says 300 dpi. Effective PPI 300. Okay? Watch what happens when I scale this. Shift Command. What's happening to the effective? No, look at the effective. The image is going bigger. It might be hard for you guys to see the number. I apologize. The effective PPI, which is right down here, is actually going down. Why is it going down? Remember the basics of resolution? I've got a 2x3 box right now. Let's say there's 500 pixels. Okay? If I make the box bigger, there's still only 500 pixels. They're just getting farther away from each other. Does that make sense? It's a kind of a difficult concept at times. So in other words, once you file place that at 300 dpi, the only thing you can do to it is make it smaller. Okay? Otherwise, your DPI is actually, or PPI in this instance, pixels per inch on the screen, is actually getting smaller. Okay? So I want to make sure that when you're down, Yesley, stay away. I want to make sure that when you're down, getting your images, bigger is better. Yes?
Does it matter if it actually would fit into like a newspaper? Like the thing I want to make an ad for isn't something I could see in a newspaper kind of.
You're making a 5.5 by 8.5 ad, so it's up to you what you pick.
So
You can turn anything into an ad.
Okay, so it really doesn't matter.
I don't care the company you pick,
So
no.
you were just saying newspaper for an example.
As an example, newspaper, magazine, things like that.
Like okay,
So whatever it is, you can use it.
like
You're going to make an ad.
Instagram or something like that. Like,
So that's how. So in other words, if I wanted to use this image like this, which is what Panera does sometimes, okay? The DPI on this image has now gone from 300, or PPI when it comes to screen, to 96. It'll tell you the actual PPI of the image is 300, but the effective is 96. So in other words, if you want to use an image for the full size of the ad, you got to make sure it's a big image. When you go to Photoshop and you say 300, you need to make sure it's at least over 5.5 by 8.5, so you don't have to shrink it down. And this will take some time, and we'll work it. Okay. So that's how you're going to start your ad. Like, so I would drop this image in here. All right. Other things in InDesign. All right. So dealing with master pages and character styles, I'm going to go over later. I don't want to overload you. Okay. But okay. So you've got, well, you made a new document. You did file place. I hope it's not that overloading. So we made our new document. We file placed our images and our logos. As far as type goes, okay, here's my type box. Remember, there's no click and type like there is in Illustrator. Okay, there's just a drag. You type. Right up here in your properties are all the things that you can change. If you don't see it over here, you're going to want to go to Window, Workspace, and make sure it's Essentials, not Essentials Classic. And everything will pop up right here for you. Okay? You change your font character here. All right? Change your size here. All right? You have your leading, which is the space between lines. So if I go here like this, all right? I can adjust the leading. Okay? We've done this all before. Okay, we did this in our rack guides, and I know it's been a little while. Okay, that's why I wanted to touch base in terms of just basically starting. But we've only got about 20 minutes since you're actually leaving. All right? So really, before we get out of here, for your little break down at the gym, I want you to decide on the company you're going to choose. Okay? I want you to begin your visual research and take a look at what that company does for other types of advertisement or things like that. And then you can begin your sketches. That's the first step. Okay? At noon, I'll go over the next little assignment. Okay? The secondary assignment isn't going to take you very long. Okay? I don't pick 2 assignments that are super long because that's not fair. But I wanted to give you guys a little breakaway from advertising design, and I wanted to keep you kind of moving, because if you kind of flake out an advertising design and just sit there and get nothing done, it's really boring. Okay? So I picked 2 pieces that are going to be a little bit interesting, I think. Okay? Any questions? Okay?